BEIN TV, connected to your world.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of BEIN News Updates. We bring you all the news making headlines during the week, broadcasting from Benab House, Atomic Junction, Medina. My name is Khadija Sukubra Keilani. We are also live on Facebook and YouTube at BEIN TV. There has been lots of stories during the week, and some of the top stories include the major earthquake in Turkey, which claimed over 1,300 lives, Turkey and Syria, and also transport fares might not increase according to GPRTU. Then the big stories, the debt exchange program, Ken Ofori-Atta, the finance minister, has been summoned by Parliament. This and many other stories in details in a moment. Thank you for staying with us. Now the stories in details. Public Relations Officer for the Ghana Road and Transport Union, GPRTU, Alhaji Abbas Moro, has insisted that there might be no form of increment in transport fares. According to him, the decision on the increment will be announced after meetings with relevant stakeholders.
Alhaji Abbas Moro explained that insurance premiums have been increased and therefore the percentages must be considered before any increment is announced. He said insurance policy, AMA documentation, pack-toll, permits and others have increased, and when it happens that way, the GPRTU must meet and consider the percentages before any announcement for the fare increment. But for now, they have not come out with anything. His comments come after the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, is expected to meet the government next week to decide on an upward review of transport fares following the increase in fuel prices. The Industrial Relations Director also said the GPRTU came out to sensitize, create awareness with the possibility of transport prices increase, but it has a standing order between operators and the government that if the fuel price is increased up to 10%, they must also increase transport fares. He therefore urges drivers and transport operators to stay calm as the adjustment to fares would be communicated, but once they have not announced any percentage, everyone should stay calm and hope that instead of an increase in fuel prices, it should rather be decreased so everyone can go about their duties peacefully.
The Municipal Chief Executive of La Nkwantanai Medina, Jennifer Dede Ajabin, has commissioned an adolescent reproductive center at the premises of Lamma office in the Greater Accra region. On 22nd November 2021, Honorable Dede performed the sword cutting for the construction for the first phase of the single-story facility, which has a counseling unit, a laboratory, a social welfare unit, family planning and consultation unit, a reading room, a dispensary, a crèche, a holding unit, and toilet facilities.
Speaking to the media, Mrs. Jennifer Dede Ajabin said it had become necessary to provide such facility to take care of a very youthfully populated municipality, which has a notably high cases of teenage pregnancy. She said there are well-trained consultants to help the youth share their problems, since most parents find it difficult to discuss issues of sex with their children.
Fa La Nkwantanai Medina Municipal Assembly na emebu a ewum edosu yie pa enunti no ye juma ye di no so issues bebre so aba efa emebu no ho ebi ne teenage pregnancy ebi ne ma male children omoye enubone ni ade ebi muso wo ho a omo ne omo awofo nete anase omo tu obi nchen a sebe ye omo basabasa yeto omo munane ade a omo ntime nka ho asem ebi mo kwa wo ho asebi o bebi omo ko school kra no obi ye omo basabasa wo school ho a omo ntime enka ho hwe enunti ena yaye sa project we eno bema mebu no opportunity a omode beba abeka omo asem mofra ni bi wo ho omugu omo nsa omunye obi anka omo asem entro omo behra na be me bi afa me mo aye ne basa.
According to a 2020 Municipal Health Directorate report, there are about 100 cases of teenage pregnancies, a situation which could have dire economic and social consequences on society. The Municipal Director of Health Services, Dr. Precision Poku, who received the keys of the facility, expressed her officer's gratitude to the leadership of the Municipal Assembly and the Municipal Chief Executive for the initiative, and said the center would greatly complement the roles of the Health Directorate and the Domestic Violence and Victim Support Units of the Ghana Police Service to support the vulnerable in society.
And in education, the Ghana Education Service, GES, and the Education Ministry are set to release the academic calendar for senior high schools. Sources at the ministry have confirmed that discussions with various groups are almost complete and barring any last-minute changes. It follows concerns by parents and guardians regarding uncertainty over how long their children will be in school.
Public Relations Officer for the GES, Cassandra Trim Ampofo, says the GES and the ministry are currently engaging with stakeholders and will announce the new calendar soon. The release of the academic calendar is crucial for the smooth running of educational system as it provides a roadmap for both students and teachers. The calendar usually includes important dates such as term start and end dates, holidays and examination periods. In recent years, the release of the calendar has been delayed, causing confusion and uncertainty for parents and students. However, this year, the GES and the ministry are working together to resolve these issues and provide clarity to the public. It is expected that the announcement of the new calendar will pave the way for the release of the placement into the senior high schools, providing much needed relief to parents and students who have been eagerly awaiting the announcement.
Away from education, the Electoral Commission (EC) is to lay before Parliament the new constitutional instrument, which is expected to regulate continuous voter registration in the country. The new CI, titled Public Elections Registration of Voters Regulations 2021, is seeking to make the Ghana card the sole form of identification for eligible voters who want to get onto the electoral poll.
The Director of Elections at the EC, Dr. Sribo Kweku, says the new CI is only going to regulate the continuous registration and not to compile a new voters register. According to him, the register compiled in 2020 is a credible one and will not be dispensed, adding that the continuous registration is targeted at those who have turned 18 years. He explained that the EC sought to clean the voters register with a new CI by using the Ghana card to eliminate non-Ghanaians and minors. He said per the new CI, the Commission will collaborate with the Births and Death Registrar to periodically update the Commission with the list of people who have passed on to enable the EC to start the processes of deleting their names from the register. He said the Commission had gone through all the various processes for the new CI to be laid before Parliament as the House had resumed sitting, including extensive discussions at the Inter-Party Advisory Committee (IPAD) meetings, after which it was given to the Attorney. The decision to make the Ghana card the only form of identification for the continuous registration has been a thorny issue among some stakeholders within the country's electoral system, which they say would lead to the disenfranchisement of many eligible voters. Notable among the stakeholders that have raised concerns about the use of the Ghana card is the main opposition National Democratic Congress (NDC).
The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagwin, has directed the Business Committee of the House to summon the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to give a briefing on government's domestic debt exchange program. This follows concerns raised by the minority in demand for policy detail on the program due to the picketing of pensioners at the Finance Ministry to demand exemption from the exercise. Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagwin said members stand ready to provide assistance to the government.
The finance minister said we need to be mindful that we really need to be successful in going to the fund by this March to avoid what we all experienced last year, which we all don't want to experience again. Pensioners who bought government bonds on Monday, February 6, 2023, picketed at the finance ministry to press home their demands for an exemption of their bonds from the government domestic debt exchange program. The pensioners, who are part of the Pensioner Bondholders Forum, want the government to completely exempt them from the debt exchange. They believe the inclusion of their bonds will negatively impact their livelihood. The closure of the invitation for holders of the government bond to subscribe to the program expires Tuesday, February 7, 2023.
In some international stories, a major earthquake of magnitude 7.8 struck southeastern Turkey and northwest Syria, killing more than 1,300 people. Hundreds of people in both countries were also injured as buildings collapsed across the region. This has triggered search for survivors in the rubble.
The earthquake hit near the Turkish city of Gaziantep 4:17 a.m. local time on Monday, as people were sleeping at a depth of about 17.9 kilometers. It was also felt as far as Cyprus, Egypt, and Lebanon. Search and rescue teams were immediately dispatched to the areas hit by the earthquake. According to Turkey's defense ministry, the country's armed forces have established an air corridor to enable medical and rescue teams to reach the earthquake-hit areas. Turkish Interior Minister Süleyman Soylu said there had been at least 6 aftershocks and urged people not to enter damaged buildings due to the risks. In Syria, already devastated by more than 11 years of war, state media has reported that at least 326 people have been killed and some 1,000 injured. In Syrian capital Damascus, buildings shook and many people rushed onto the streets in fear. Meanwhile, a rescue organization also known as the White Helmets in the rebel-held part of Syria has also reported deaths of at least 221 people.
In Nigeria, the Nigerian National University Commission has ordered the country's university to close from 22nd February to 14th March 2023 because of the general elections, which will be held on 25th February. The decision follows concerns about the safety and security of staff and students during the poll.
According to local media reports, the NUC, which comes under the Federal Ministry of Education, was given the order by the Education Minister Adamu. There has been concerns about whether the elections will be able to go ahead as planned on 25th February because of ongoing insecurity problems in the country. However, the head of the Electoral Commission has insisted they will take place. Young people make up a large proportion of those who have registered to vote in the elections. Last month, the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, asked President Buhari to temporarily shut down all tertiary institutions until after February 25th and March 11 elections. The association stressed that the shutdown would allow students to obtain their permanent voters' cards, which will enable them vote in the elections. According to data from INEC, over 26 million students are currently registered voters eligible to participate in the election.
Still on Nigeria, Nigeria's Supreme Court has temporarily suspended Friday's deadline to stop using old banknotes, which had caused a cash crisis in the country. Many banks have not had enough of the new Naira notes, leading to desperate and chaotic scenes as people tried to get their hands on them. There were fights at ATMs, protests, and mob attacks on commercial banks.
The Supreme Court's decision comes after a legal challenge initiated by the northern states of Kaduna, Kogi, and Zamfara earlier this month. Their lawyers argued that the government policy had led to an excruciating situation that is almost leading to anarchy in the land. It added that 80% of the notes currently in circulation were being held outside financial institutions. It hoped the redesign would bring some of that money being heralded by individuals and companies back into the financial system and so stop prices from rising so quickly. The chaos led to concern that it could affect this month's election, as many Nigerians do not have bank accounts. The head of the Election Commission said some election service provided will need to be paid in cash, and that could prove to be difficult. The case has been adjourned to 15 February.
And this is where we end our news updates. For more trending stories and breaking news, log on to our website www.beinamultimedia.com. My name is Khadija Tukubra Keilani. Many thanks for watching. Have a good evening.
Admission, admission, admission. State Academy Senior High School is admitting students in